There's a special kind of awkwardness that you can almost taste. Most of us get to have these moments in private, but when you're one of the most photographed people on the planet, those moments are preserved forever, replayed in slow motion, and turned into memes. Welcome back, and brace yourself, because we're about to take another dive into Meghan Markle's bottomless pool of cringeworthy moments.
Kitten, mew, mew, mew.
Kwame, you sing it too.
Kwame, yeah, mew, 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 mew. Kitten, mew, mew, mew.
The Ellen DeGeneres Cringe Fest. Let's kick things off with a trip to the land of daytime television, a place where celebrity dignity often goes to die. In 2021, Meghan swung by the Ellen DeGeneres show for what she likely hoped would be a fun, reputation-softening appearance. The plan? A classic hidden camera prank where Meghan, wired up with an earpiece, had to say and do whatever Ellen commanded while talking to street vendors. What actually happened was a train wreck of secondhand embarrassment so powerful it should have come with a warning label. It all started weird and just got weirder. At Ellen's instruction, the Duchess of Sussex, a woman with a literal royal title, suddenly dropped into a deep squat in public for no apparent reason. From there, she floated over to a crystal stall, grabbed a stone, pressed it to her forehead, and started moaning and chanting as if she were trying to contact another dimension. Things escalated at the hot sauce stand when she blurted out, "Mommy wants some heat," before nibbling on a chip with the frantic energy of a squirrel. Then, in the segment's weirdest moment, she pulled a baby's milk bottle from her very expensive handbag and started chugging from it. All the while, the poor vendors just stood there, their faces frozen in a state of polite confusion, clearly wondering if they needed to call security. Just when you thought it couldn't possibly get more uncomfortable, the prank ended with Meghan putting on a pair of cat ears and meowing a song she made up on the spot. The internet, as you can imagine, had a complete meltdown. The clip went viral for all the wrong reasons, with people everywhere asking the same question: why? Royal commentators and the public questioned the judgment of someone who, while no longer a working royal, still profits from and uses the title of Duchess. It felt like a jarring clash of worlds, the seriousness of a global advocate for women's rights colliding with the silliness of a daytime television stunt. A signature mistake. Long before she was pretending to be a cat, back when she was just learning the royal ropes, Meghan made a much smaller, yet equally telling, slip-up. On her first official visit to Wales with Harry in early 2018, she was a hit with the crowds. She was charming, warm, and engaging. Then, in a moment of pure muscle memory for any celebrity, a young fan handed her a book, and Meghan took a pen and signed it. A sweet, normal autograph. Except in the weird, upside-down world of the monarchy, it's not normal at all. It's actually a massive no-no. Royals are strictly forbidden from signing autographs. It's not because they're being difficult, it's a serious security rule to stop their signatures from being faked on important documents or sold for thousands online. It's one of the first things they learn, and senior royals are pros at dodging autograph requests. But Meghan, fresh from Hollywood, went right ahead and signed her name, a perfect Meghan with a little heart. That one little signature became a huge news story overnight. It was her first big public blunder, a clear sign that she was playing a completely different game. Her supporters saw it as a refreshing break from stuffy tradition, but for everyone else, it was a sign that she either didn't know the rules or didn't care to follow them. It was a tiny moment that hinted at the massive learning curve ahead and proved that royal life was going to be way more complicated than just waving and smiling. The Royal Rumble.
Foundation is really interesting because while I've worked with larger NGOs, I've also worked with really small grassroots organizations where you can see a higher level of...
Just a month later, the world got a front row seat to what was supposed to be the launch of the royal Fab Four. William, Kate, Harry, and Meghan all sat down together for a Royal Foundation Forum, an event meant to show off their united star power. Instead, it felt like we were all watching an incredibly tense family meeting that nobody wanted to be in. The body language was screamingly awkward, and the different vibes between the two couples were impossible to ignore. Meghan, however, came in hot. She grabbed the microphone and, riding the wave of the Me Too movement, gave a fiery, off-the-cuff speech about female empowerment. It was powerful stuff, but it was also way more political and personal than the royals ever get. Their whole brand is built on staying neutral and smiling politely from the sidelines. As Meghan spoke, you could practically feel the temperature in the room drop. The other royals looked visibly uncomfortable. Cameras caught William looking particularly strained, and at one point, Harry leaned over to Meghan and was caught whispering, "Wedding first," which sounded a lot like a gentle plea to pump the brakes. Meghan shot back with a smile. "We can multitask." But the tension was undeniable. That forum, which was meant to be a show of unity, ended up being the first public preview of the family drama that was about to explode. It was the moment everyone realized the Fab Four was less of a supergroup and more like two rival bands forced to share a stage. Stage managing the spotlight. Even after leaving the royal fishbowl, Meghan's knack for creating awkward optics continued. A prime example unfolded in April 2024, after Harry's team clinched a victory at a charity polo match in Miami. It was a celebratory moment. The team gathered on a small stage for the trophy presentation and photos. As a woman involved with the charity moved to stand next to Prince Harry for the picture, she was quickly and expertly redirected. In a clip that blew up online, Meghan is seen stepping in, gesturing for the other woman to move aside, and then smoothly taking her place right next to Harry. The other woman, looking a bit confused, was shuffled off to the side of the group. The whole interaction was over in seconds, but it was a masterclass in quietly controlling a room. The internet, of course, went into overdrive. Her critics called it a classic power play, proof that she needs to be the center of every single photo. Her fans insisted she was just making sure the picture looked good, as she and Harry were the main draw of the event. No matter what the intention was, the look wasn't great. It came across as territorial and a bit desperate, like she was physically managing her and Harry's brand in real time. It was just one of those unscripted moments that gave everyone online plenty of ammo for a week's worth of debate. The door that launched 1,000 clicks. Let's end with a moment so simple, it's almost laughable that it became a global incident. For her first solo royal event in 2018, Meghan arrived at the Royal Academy of Arts, stepped out of the car, and then she closed her own car door. That's it. That's the whole story. A perfectly normal human action. But in the wild world of royal watching, this was the equivalent of a bomb going off. The internet completely lost its mind. One side praised her to the high heavens, creating hashtags about how humble, down to earth, and relatable she was for performing this basic task. Finally, a royal who was just like us. But the other side was absolutely scandalized. They cried that this was a shocking break with protocol. A protection officer is always supposed to close the door as a final security check. By closing it herself, she was putting herself at risk. For days, the biggest debate online was about a car door. It was the perfect example of the impossible situation she was in. She was either a Hollywood diva who expected everyone to wait on her, or a reckless rule breaker who didn't respect tradition. There was no middle ground. A simple, instinctive gesture was turned into a massive international drama, proving that when it came to Meghan, absolutely everything, right down to how she got out of a car, was going to be a big deal. The hug that wasn't. Let's talk about the universal language of greetings. A handshake, a wave, a hug. Simple, right? Not always. In 2022, Meghan attended an event and went to greet one of the organizers on stage. Being a tactile and famously warm American, Meghan went straight in for a hug. The woman on the receiving end, however, was not on the same page. In a moment of pure, unadulterated awkwardness, the woman visibly stiffened, held out a rigid arm, and blocked Meghan's advance, forcing her into a clumsy, one-armed side hug before turning away. The moment was captured from multiple angles and instantly became a viral sensation. It was like watching a social car crash in slow motion. Meghan, seemingly taken aback, tried to play it off with a smile, but the discomfort was written all over her face. The internet immediately began debating what they had just seen. Was this a deliberate snub? Was the woman intentionally giving Meghan the cold shoulder, a public rejection in front of a packed room? Or was it simply a classic case of cultural differences, a reserved Brit unprepared for a full-body embrace from a Californian? People analyzed the clip like it was the Zapruder film, slowing it down and zooming in on the woman's facial expression. Team Snub pointed to the woman's stiff posture and quick turnaway as proof of malice. Team Culture Clash argued it was just a typical, awkward interaction that anyone who's ever misjudged a greeting can relate to. Whatever the reason, it was a perfect storm of social awkwardness that left everyone watching feeling just a little bit uncomfortable. The Summit of Self. In September 2022, Meghan was given the honor of delivering the keynote address at the One Young World Summit in Manchester. This is a massive, prestigious event that brings together young leaders from across the globe. It was a huge platform and a perfect opportunity for her to inspire the next generation of changemakers. The stage was set, the audience was waiting, and then Meghan began her speech. And for the next 7 minutes, she mostly talked about one subject: herself. According to reports that meticulously broke down the speech, she mentioned herself an astonishing 54 times. The speech, intended to open a global summit for young leaders, became a winding, personal anecdote about her own journey. She talked about her past experiences with the organization, her doubts about deserving a seat at the table, and her life as a wife and mother. While personal stories can be a powerful tool, this one seemed to completely miss the mark. The audience, filled with brilliant young people who had flown in from all over the world, were reportedly left looking a little confused. The backlash was immediate. Critics pounced, accusing her of having main character syndrome and making an event that was supposed to be about others all about her. They questioned why she spent so much time on her own story instead of focusing on the delegates she was there to inspire. Her supporters argued she was simply using her own experience to relate to the audience. But for many, it felt tone-deaf and self-indulgent. Another example of a public appearance that seemed to be more about burnishing her own brand than serving the purpose of the event.